Hi, everybody, and welcome to Know What You're Talking About. Today we're looking at Topic 6, DQ2. Really simple DQ. Explain how a bank's ability to create transaction deposits accounts through loans creates money. How does that work? We touched on this a little bit in DQ1, but we're going to go into it in more detail here. And to get there, I want you to go back to that money and banking PowerPoint that I gave you with DQ1 and take a look at slide number 7. Slide number 7 explains the whole thing in a nutshell. It's right here. Customer deposits $100 into his savings account. The bank loans the $100 to a borrower who deposits the money into his checking account. There are now $200 in deposits, and money is created. That's the long and the short of it. Now, is it a little more complicated than that? Oh, certainly. First of all, I take $100 into the bank. I put it into my savings account. Surprisingly enough, it does not sit there in a little cubby named Archer and wait for me to come back. Oh, no. The bank is going to loan that money. And we need to make the distinction right here between the money the bank makes, i.e. the profit it makes on that loan, and the money it creates. The bank's profit comes from the interest that it charges on the loan. However, in this discussion, we're talking about the money that the bank creates. So that has nothing to do with the interest rate. So steer clear of that piece. So I put my $100 into the bank. The bank is required by the Federal Reserve to hold some money in reserve, 10%. So $10 goes into the required reserves right away. The rest of the money, the other $90, is considered excess reserves. And what the bank does with excess reserves is it loans them, because that's how the bank makes its profit, interest on the loans. So it's in their best interest to loan the money. So it takes that $90 and it loans it to my friend Joe. Now Joe has $90 and I have $100. Joe puts his $90 in the bank, and the bank now shows $190 in transaction deposits, $100 in my account, $90 in Joe's account. Remember that the M1 money supply includes the total of all transaction deposits. So when the transaction deposits increase, the M1 money supply increases. Voila! The banks have just created money. It's magic. It really is magic. But they've created money. There's lots of implications for this. First of all, for those of you who think that this is smoke and mirrors, don't get too obsessed with that. Fractional reserve banking, which is what this is called, has been around since the 1500s and before, a long, long time. It predates the United States of America. It predates Western banking the way we know it today. It predates anything where a central bank might be managing the money supply. This system goes way back. And the fact that it has survived for all these millennium indicate that it works. And so let's just go with that right there. It's not a ripoff. It's not a smoke and mirrors. Secondly, there are some checks and balances built into the system. The Federal Reserve can change the required reserve rate. If they require the bank to keep more of the money in reserve, they have less money to lend out. Therefore, the creation of money slows down because there's less money going out on loan. And likewise, if they were to reduce that reserve rate, it would go the opposite way. It would increase the money supply. The Federal Reserve also has the opportunity to change the interest rate that it charges to banks for borrowing money. And it also has the opportunity to sell bonds and buy bonds, any of which can increase the money supply. But the main thing is, through the federal required reserves and things like that, the Federal Reserve has the ability to limit how much money the banks can create through loans. So that's how the system works. And if you're like me, you're going to find this fascinating. It's just too cool that they can actually create money out of nothing, and that system works as it has for millennial. So I look forward to hearing your explanation of how this works, your thoughts on this, and I look forward to giving you 100% on this DQ. See you next time on Know What You're Talking About.